Something has happened outside. Nobody knows what, but anyone who looks out the window turns into a grotesque monster. And you are stuck in an apartment building with just 15 days to survive, scavenge, recruit your lunatic neighbors, and fight over 150 handcrafted creatures in turn-based combat. Single developer, published by Devolver, and 98% positive ratings on Steam. For me, this came out of nowhere. I found it just cycling through Steam Discovery. Had never heard of it, and now I can't stop recommending it to anyone who will listen. Ever since Lisa and Omori, I'm a sucker for good RPG Maker games. Throw in some crazy NPCs, Lovecraftian cosmic horror, and a survival loop that actually has teeth, quite literally, and this thing becomes something else entirely. The soundtrack is a banger. There is an absolute goldmine of story and lore underneath all the weirdness. The kind that stays with you long after the credits have rolled. If you like RPG Maker, horror, Lovecraftian, or survival games and haven't played this, this is your sign. Cassette Beasts, a monster catching RPG where you don't throw a ball at anything that moves. You record creatures onto a cassette tape and literally transform into them to fight. You can fuse any two monster forms mid-battle, giving you over 14,000 possible combinations of creatures. It's BAFTA nominated and rated 95% positive on Steam. Now I believe indie creature collectors have left Pokemon completely in the dust. And this is just Exhibit A. The twist on the monster catcher formula is so unique that I could make a whole separate video on it. But you know what's my favorite part about it? The soundtrack. It is so wholesome that you will actually pause the game just to sit and listen to it. If you are even remotely into monster catchers or creature collectors, get this one. Next up is Paradise Killer, an open world detective game on a tropical island outside of reality. We have a rogue civilization trying to resurrect dead alien gods, an entire council murdered behind locked doors, and you are Lady Love Dice, an investigation freak brought out of exile to crack the case. The twist? You can accuse anyone, build your case however you want, and there is no single correct answer. This one's an 81 on Metacritic. I loved this game so much that after beating it twice on PC, I bought the limited edition disc for the PlayStation. The vaporwave aesthetic, the atmosphere, the cast of characters, but that is only half of it. I took notes the entire time and bounced between blaming almost everyone for the crime. And honestly, I don't blame anyone who's turned off at the start. But once it clicks, oh man, it really, really clicks. The soundtrack absolutely slaps. If you like chill games with a mystery at the center, this one has the best of both worlds. Next up, we got Citizen Sleeper, a tabletop RPG inspired narrative game where you play as a human consciousness trapped in a robot body. You are broke, you are being hunted, and you are stranded on a space station at the edge of the universe. And nobody cares if you live or die. It's ugly, late stage capitalism at its worst. Every day you roll a limited set of dice and decide how to spend them. The people you meet, the choices you make, how much of yourself you give away, it all determines where you end up. This one has an 82 on Metacritic. I put this in the same bracket as Soma, games that make you sit and think of what it means to be a human. And that is not easy to pull off, mind you. The characters you meet are so well written that you will feel actual things for them. Almost every ending had me in tears. Every run plays out differently depending on who you choose to protect and what part of you did you decide to give up along the way. Now, whether this is for you depends entirely on whether you want a game that treats you like an adult and does not insult your intelligence. If you do, this one is essential in my opinion. Next one is Lisa, a post-apocalyptic RPG Maker game which is set in a world where all women have mysteriously vanished. You play as Brad Armstrong, a broken man on a desperate mission through a world that has completely lost its mind. The story is dark, funny, gritty, and emotional all at once. And you know the best part about this? It's made entirely by one person. This is the weirdest game on the list, and that is the highest amount of praise that I can give. One dev who goes by Dingaling wrote it, designed it, and composed the entire soundtrack using a trial version of FL Studio. That's right, just the trial version. There are like 100 tracks on this thing, and it is one of the best game soundtracks I have ever heard. He managed to stitch together a story that made me go on a roller coaster of emotions. There are like 30 party members to choose from, all with their own unique brand of weirdness. This is one of the most underrated games ever made. And if my word means nothing to you, trust Donkey. Next up, I have 1000X Resist, a narrative sci-fi adventure which is set 1000 years in the future. So humanity is on its last legs, and we have a society of clones worshipping a single teenage girl called the All Mother. You play as Watcher, diving into her memories to uncover the truth on how the world ended. This was made by a four-person team. It was nominated at every single award event you can imagine. It's rated 97% on Steam. This game should have sold at least a million copies. It hasn't. It's sitting around 100,000, and I hate that fact. It tackles loneliness, racism, generational trauma, identity, what it means to resist and rebel, and what it means to remember. And it does all of that without ever feeling preachy or forced. And that brings me to the real point that I'm trying to make. The writing is some of the best that I have come across in any game. I just cannot do it justice in a few sentences, and I'm not going to try. At the end of the day, it comes down to one thing. If you care about narrative in games, you just cannot miss this one. Trust me. Next is Omori. This is a psychological horror RPG which is split between two worlds. So there's this bright, surreal dream world full of color and adventure, and then there's this quiet, suburban real world where something is clearly very wrong. The further you go in, the darker the gap between these two worlds becomes. This was made by a single developer, about 6 years in development, and sold over a million copies. And this is recommended by 100% of all the critics on OpenCritic. If you are in need of a gut punch or if you want something that will stay with you for a long time, look no further. Omori is one of the most honest portrayals of how kids deal with grief, guilt, and mental health that I have seen in any medium, not just games. What I like is that it doesn't dramatize these things for effect. And it is up to you whether the protagonist finally accepts help or keeps running away from it. And as someone who had mental health issues in childhood, that hit me so hard. Masterpiece is a word that I use carefully, but this game earns it. Go in with zero spoilers. The less you know going in, the more it will wreck you. You will either love this kind of game or you won't. But if you do, this one will stay with you forever. Next is Promise Mascot Agency. This one is made by the creators of Paradise Killer. You are a disgraced Yakuza fixer who owes a debt of 12 billion yen. So you are exiled to a cursed rural Japanese town to rebuild a bankrupt mascot agency. Now here's the thing about the mascots, right? They are real, like actual living, breathing creatures with personalities. One of them is a sentient block of tofu that cries constantly. Not even kidding. This one is rated 96% positive on Steam. So after Omori and Lisa, I wanted to recommend a light-hearted game on the list as well. I mean, I loved Paradise Killer so much that I bought this one on day one itself. You can just feel the love and care in every corner of this thing. It looks and plays like a mini game straight out of a Yakuza title. Think Dondoko Island from Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. The map is tight, the characters are genuinely funny, and underneath all that wackiness, there is an emotional story that leads to a satisfying ending. And that brings me to my final pitch. Because if nothing I just said has convinced you, this one just might. You ready? So the protagonist is voiced by Takaya Kuroda. Yes, the same man who voices Kiryu in a game about managing sentient mascots in a cursed Japanese town. There is just no excuse not to play this. And the last one is Mouthwashing. This is a first person horror game set on a deep space courier ship that has been purposely crashed into an asteroid. You will piece together what happened and why through two characters across different timelines. There's no jump scares, no supernatural monsters, just five crew members. There's shrinking supplies and the slow reveal of what people are capable of when there is no way out. This is rated 95% positive on Steam. I always get goosebumps and shivers when I think of the happenings in this game. The scariest thing in this game isn't some monster, it's people, their insecurities, their refusal to take responsibility, and what that does to everyone around them. It took me about 4 hours to finish this, and I still think about it months later. The pacing might feel off at times, but the atmosphere and the way it uses environmental storytelling makes it worth every uncomfortable minute. If you liked Soma or Signalis, you need to play this. Trust me.